Hello, welcome to another episode of Your Individual Wedding. Thank you so much for downloading and listening, not just to this episode, but to all episodes in season 4 of the podcast. I've really enjoyed chatting to all these wonderful wedding suppliers and learning lots and lots about what they do and how they can help you have an incredible day. The good news is that we're going to have a season 5. I'm planning more episodes right now, but they're going to look a little bit different, or sound a little bit different, more to the point. It's been great doing these on my own and chatting to, as I say, really inspiring wedding suppliers. But sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a change, to switch things up. So although I'm coming back to do all the rest of the shows, I'm not going to be on my own. I'm going to be joined by a lovely lady who you would have heard of if you listen to the show. She's called Heidi from Glorious by Heidi. She was my first guest this season and we got on really well. She was a natural. She's got a background in radio. So I have asked the wonderful Heidi to be my co-host going forward. So we're still going to have other guests, some episodes. Some episodes it might just be us chatting. But for this final episode in this series, we've got Heidi back on board and we've had a lovely chat about who we are, about what we're passionate about, and about what you can expect going forward from your individual wedding. We'll see you soon.
So welcome to Your Individual Wedding. You won't be familiar with my voice. My name is Heidi of Glorious by Heidi, and I've been very kindly invited by Ross Wilshire, who is the voice that you will be familiar with of Your Individual Wedding, to join him in co-hosting this podcast. Thank you so much, Ross.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome. It's nice to have someone else do the intros. I've got to learn not to be lazy and just sit back and think, oh, somebody else is doing it this time.
Just stare at me. So, Ross, I'm really honoured. I have to say, I am incredibly honoured. I loved being a guest on Your Individual Wedding back in the heyday of lockdown. And I've listened to your podcast ever since. I have a number of podcasts, my go-to podcasts, and Your Individual Wedding is one of those podcasts. And you've interviewed some really interesting people. And so I'm incredibly honoured to have been invited by you to co-host Your Individual Wedding. So I think we probably need to tell people what to expect for the next few podcasts. So Ross, I want to take you back.
Of course, like if you got like a little red book.
Like mysterious music now, where we go back.
A flashback, yeah.
Ross, at the start of Your Individual Wedding, what was your hair like, Ross, at the start of Your Individual Wedding?
So, what was it like? Probably the same, and then it's probably evolved full circle because it tends to do that. So I look back at uni pictures, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's my hair now, and then I was like, oh, that's my hair 3 months ago. So I tend to have about 5 different styles, and then and alternate between the 5. So it was either a bit longer or a bit shorter. Variation.
Have you ever gone long? Have you ever had a ponytail?
I've never had a ponytail. During lockdown, I was thinking of embracing the man bun because it was getting quite long during that period. So but my other half, James, really likes it long, and the mop he calls it, and he really likes that. But it's all right. It's one of those things where you take like a nice photo for Instagram or social media, it looks great, but the rest of the day it just really doesn't look that good when it gets to a certain point. But yeah,
now's the time to experiment. Lockdown 2.
Exactly.
Really experiment with all things hair. Well, head hair. Let's stick to head hair.
Yeah, let's not go in any other direction.
I'm not going to grow a moustache. We're not going there. So tell me, Ross, what was the year? When did you start Your Individual Wedding?
It was 2020 now, so it was 2018 I started it. So it was off the back of my book. So originally, my book is called How to Have a Wedding as Individual as You Are. which I wrote about 3 or 4 years ago, and that was all just giving people a helping hand to say, I don't want it like that. I want to do things a bit differently. And there are lots of couples who do and are fine and are quite confident in doing that. But there's lots that sort of need a little bit of a friendly sort of voice to say, it's okay, you can do what you want, you don't have to listen to them. And that's what I was finding predominantly with LGBTQ weddings. Couples would come to me, well, what do we do about this? We don't really like that tradition, or how does this work? And I would say, well, you can do what you want. It's up to you. There's very few rules, actually. A lot of people mistake traditions for rules or legalities, and it all gets wrapped up. And then they'd go away and sort of be like, oh, right, we can do whatever we want. And that was sort of overwhelming for them. And then I'd see them in a few months for their pre-wedding shoot, and they'd run with it. They had the most amazing, unique ideas and amalgamated different parts of their culture or their background or their likes. And it was amazing to see. But I did feel that part of my role was just saying, not taking all the credit for it, but just saying, you can do what you want. And I think that's quite a powerful thing to say to people, really. So I wrote a book which was based around that, really. And also it just gave me a chance to get who I was across a little bit. There's so many wedding photographers out there. And whilst my work isn't in the style of my photography, it's not wildly different. I think my ethos and my background is probably quite different from a lot of photographers. So I don't come from a love of all things technical, or, I wasn't in a dark room from the age of 12, which you really usually hear about on photographers' bios, that, my granddad handed me a camera at the age of 7 and I've been photographing ever since. That hasn't happened to me. And I used to work with people, and I studied psychology, and I worked with children with special needs, and I worked with adults with Alzheimer's, and all my jobs were non-for-profit, and they were all about adapting how you did your job to meet the needs of others. So I brought that to my business quite early on.
You can see it in photography, Ross. So one of the things that stands out for me about your photographic style is you capture emotion really well. And so I look at a lot of photographers' work. I lose hours on Pinterest, on Instagram. I've worked with a lot of professional photographers, wedding industry photographers, and you fast get a feel for somebody's style, and yours is all about the emotion and the warmth and those moments, those looks. There's a lot of joy in your photography, which I really love. You do get a lot of people really belly laughing. So you obviously have quite a connection with your couples when you are photographing their weddings.
Yeah, and again, I think it's just permission to allow them to be themselves. I think a lot of people are quite surprised when they do a family shoot or a pre-wedding shoot or whatever, how little direction I give, sort of gentle pointers that, let's go over there, the light's a bit better there, or, you look great, but maybe just stand in this angle a little bit. But most of the time, it's just letting people know that they don't need to do anything really complicated to be photogenic. I think so many people come to me and say, oh, I hope you got Photoshop, that'll be Photoshop, and they sort of laugh about it, but actually I hear it so much, it's quite sad that people think they need to be, and it sounds really cheesy, but I think, you don't. And I think that's the message. If they can go away and feel uplifted before, I get loads of lovely comments and reviews, and I got a card from my last couple before they even see the photos. So I've realised it's a lot about how you make people feel before they see themselves in the photos, and it's given them permission to say, you're okay, you're photogenic, you don't have to adhere to all these standards that you see out there.
And it's interesting, what people think of as photogenic. I read some very interesting psychological report on people's perception of themselves, and it concluded that people are actually 20% more attractive than they perceive themselves to be to other people. And so in our heads, as individuals, apparently, we look at ourselves and we pick out all of the faults, and I'm an absolute horror for it. It's like, don't show my chins, I don't want to do my chins and my creepy neck and my frown lines, and you pick holes in your appearance. We are our own worst enemies for doing it. And then a photo will come back and you'll look and think, oh, actually my chin isn't as obvious as I thought it was. And when you actually look at yourself in photos, that's what other people are seeing.
Yeah.
Not what your nasty little mind is building up as all of these awful things about how you appear. And so, yeah, you're right. It's how you make people feel, how comfortable they feel. The most natural photos are very often the most beautiful photos, when people are lost in the moment and forgetting that they need to pose and, I need to do this and need to do that. All the photos I absolutely love of my kids and my husband are the ones where they're belly laughing over something, or, they're doing something daft that isn't necessarily a sort of a pose, look at me smouldering into the lens kind of thing. So it is very much how you make people feel. So that's the premise of your individual wedding then. It's basically just giving people the permission.
It was. And obviously I did my book and I just wanted to keep that conversation going. But I also knew, I've been in business 4 years, although we can't really count this year as being in business, but I started the business properly 4 years ago. So
I don't know, I've worked harder this year than I have. I'm counting it. This is counting.
Yeah. No, true, very true. But I think writing the book when I did, it was almost sort of fresh eyes on the industry. I wasn't jaded. I wasn't just going to the motions. So when I sort of gave advice about choosing suppliers or going to a wedding fair, it wasn't from somebody that had been doing it 10 years and just turns up. It was somebody going saying, oh, this doesn't look right. Where are brides from different cultures and different backgrounds? Where are all the vendors for them? Where are the same-sex couples represented? Why are all the couples in their 20s in these photos? So it was, that's where it came from. But I also realised there's lots of great people out there that knew things that I didn't. I never claimed to know everything about every aspect of the industry. So then it was an opportunity to get to know people that I worked with a bit better, and for them to share their knowledge and give them a platform. So that's what it grew into. And as I said, the first few seasons were how to have a wedding as individual as you are. Doesn't really roll off the tongue. And then and then from a practical point of view, on certain platforms, that was too many characters to have as a Instagram name or on Spotify or something. So I had it as a rebrand. Just tried to. I think the good thing this year with this last series is that Zoom has actually opened up to the possibility of talking to people like yourself that I wouldn't be able to pop and meet for an afternoon because you're in a different part of the country. So I got to expand those conversations and sort of chat to people that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to chat to. So it's just growing from there, really. And I am, I'm sort of a hypocrite because I'm not the best at having my photo taken or being on camera. And I know with anything like content, it's got to be consistent. But because I fell in love with podcasting and it got a good reception, it was something that I could keep doing and keep putting out. And it just went from there. So this is my 40th episode of the podcast. So that's pretty good going. So
why did you want a co-presenter? Why did you want to do it with somebody else? What was missing in your life, Ross?
What was missing in my life? What void have you filled for me? I wanted to switch it up. I felt, how do I put this without sounding an egomaniac? I felt the book was a lot about me and my values, and it was a way of bringing those across and like saying there's a little bit more depth to me than just someone that comes and snaps your wedding. And speaking to other people is great. But obviously I'm always giving somebody else a platform, and some of my ideas or the things I've learned or the things I wanted to share, it's very hard to share them without looking like you're talking over your guest or chopping out their airtime kind of thing. And all my guests have been brilliant, but naturally some people are more used to podcasting or recording than others. And I realised that the podcasts I like listening to are very natural. There's more than one host chatting. And actually I listened to a podcast called Homo Sapiens, and it's two gay men, and they chat about it. They interview people, really interesting people, usually sort of allies or people in the LGBTQ community, and then the next episode they sort of chat between them about what they've learned, or they have readers sort of phone in and stuff. And interestingly, one of them wasn't able to do it one day, so it was just one guy talking, and I realised I tuned out within about 10 minutes, because actually what I liked listening to was the conversation.
Absolutely, yeah, same.
So, yeah.
When I look at all of my favourite podcasts, I mean, there's one that I listen to for business, which is a lady called Janet Murray, and invariably a lot of her podcasting is just her. But it's the ones where she is interacting with somebody else from the business community, where you're absolutely right. Your ear just, I don't know, I sometimes feel like I'm listening in on somebody's conversation, and I am that person on the bus that will listen. I love listening to other people's conversations in cafes, on the bus, in the supermarket, and I find other people's lives far more interesting than my own. But you're right, you hear two voices, and you do tune in, and you think, oh, you know, you almost feel like contributing yourself, don't you? Because
do you feel like you want to chip in? I think it's obviously something a bit more natural about it, and we're probably sort of designed to sort of, you know, respond better to that sort of natural conversation than a sort of question and answer session. So we'll discuss sort of content going forward, but we're still going to have guests and chat to guests, but sometimes it'd be nice just to chat about what's going on, you know, at the moment. And that's another thing we're going to do, is record them as we go along and invite people to sort of contribute, whereas I've kind of banked them, so I've kind of done a load, and then I know that I've got content in the bag. Because the other thing was, I'm always relying on somebody else's availability. So if I got to a point where I was due to release one and somebody cancelled the day before or whatever, then I didn't have anything to put out, so I was always sort of relying on somebody else. And actually, usually somebody that I didn't know, that there's no sort of accountability. If they're busy, they're busy. You know, there are some, you know, most people love being on it. Some sort of you just sort of doing me a favour being on there. So it was kind of like, actually, to have someone else that we got on really well, and it was easy chatting. And yeah, why I chose you in particular, it was easy. It was an easy conversation. Listening back, it sounded natural. There were no awkward pauses. You were comfortable.
You're setting me up to fail here, Ross. You know that.
But I think that's it. I think when it works, I think when a dynamic works, it can go off topic. And again, the podcasts I like, they can go off topic and talk about something I have no idea or no interest in, but you still want to listen. So that's what I wanted to tap into. And you know, it's kind of that definition of madness, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So it's just, I'm excited again about doing them. As much as I've loved doing them, you know, 40 episodes in, it was getting a little bit of a chore, and it was getting a little bit samey, and just to have someone to bounce ideas off and again, we spent a lot of, you know, you'll know this, we're both self-employed, so when I'm in the office and you're in your studio, we're on our own a lot of the time, and my outlet is being at the weddings or meeting the couples or doing the shoots, and I haven't done that. So I've had much less social engagement this year, as everybody has.
Yeah, and I found that nearly everybody in this industry, in the wedding industry, when we came out of lockdown, went absolutely crazy for doing styled photo shoots.
Yeah.
For anybody listening that's not familiar with the styled photo shoot, it's something that wedding suppliers do to showcase their talents. So you'll have a cake designer, you'll have a florist, you'll have a photographer, you'll have a venue, you'll have a dress designer, you'll have an accessory designer. And all of these people are going to come together and they're going to work to a theme, and you're basically going to end up with gorgeous photos that really inspire couples that are planning their weddings. Now, normally I'll do a handful of those a year, Ross, and we came out of lockdown, and I think I was being invited to one a day. I mean, it got crazy trying to schedule all of these shoots in my diary. I was driving all over the country. It really was. It was all of these creative people in the wedding industry that had been completely starved of human contact. They'd been sat at home with the kids and the dog and their partner, and it was kind of like we all went, oh my God, here's our chance to get out of the house and do what we do so well. And you're right, it's we crave that human interaction. We need to have other people in our lives. And I get quite stale. I don't know about you, but if you end up, like you say, doing the same thing over and over again, not being stretched, not having the opportunity to do something different, you do get quite stale, and we end up being a bit sad. We don't want to be a bit sad. We want to be a bit happy.
Yeah, so, we want it to be uplifting. You want to provide uplifting content, and times are brilliant, but that's all the more reason to sort of focus on the positive and provide an outlet that people can just tune in and switch off and have a laugh listening to, I think, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And having listened to your podcast, I think there's a few elements for me. One, I've found some of them really ridiculously informative and supportive and helpful. So the one that you did recently with Annabelle and Tamarind. From Love My Dress, and they've obviously set up the What About Weddings campaign to support the wedding industry, but also couples that have had to postpone and cancel their weddings. There was that episode was so packed with useful information. So for me, when I'm listening to podcasts, I am looking for information. I'm looking for a bit of humour. I'm looking for a bit of escapism, and listening to, like I say, your podcast is one of my go-tos, and some of the ones that you've done have been really useful and really informative. Also, I don't suppose you're allowed to say that you've got a favourite, and obviously forget about me, Ross. I know that's a given, but have there been any sort of highlights podcasts for whatever reason, any interviews that you've done that you've really enjoyed, or you've looked back on and thought, I'm really proud of that one?
I can't pinpoint a single episode. I think it's been interesting that the difference in dynamic when I'm chatting to somebody that I know, that I've worked with, and obviously some of them are sort of close friends that I've got in the industry, and some people I'm literally speaking to for the first time. And that's been really interesting to sort of see the difference. And I like both. I like the ease of conversation with friends. And again, it's nice listening to, but again, I like learning. So I like chatting to people that I can learn from. I try and choose people that know things I don't. And come from a different perspective. I'm really passionate about inclusion and equality. Obviously, that's at the heart of what I do. And I know that you're passionate about it as well. But I also think we acknowledge that we don't know everything, and we still make a mistake, and we're learning, and we're all learning. So I never want to come from a place of authority. I'm passionate about it, and I can share advice to people, and I have done, but I never come as sort of the be all and end all of what to do and what to say and how to be inclusive. I think everyone's learning. I think that's really important, and again, that's why I sort of maybe edged towards you to sort of co-host, in that when we had conversations, I could tell you were passionate about things, but you were happy to admit that you learn things, or you've got things wrong, or you've grown as a result, and you can take criticism or feedback. And I think
that is how we learn, Ross, isn't it? And you and I have had these conversations behind the scenes about our passion for equality and inclusion in the wedding industry. And I have a daughter, an 18-year-old daughter who has Down syndrome, and she wants to get married. And I'm very acutely aware that for people like her, people with disabilities, there isn't great representation out there.
Yeah.
But as I said to you, I'm also very aware that there are a lot of people in our industry who are frightened of discussing disability. They're frightened of discussing equality, gay marriage, because they are terrified that they are going to say the wrong thing. And I think at some point we all have to accept that you don't come hardwired with this knowledge. We have to pick it up along the way. We have to learn the correct language, the correct terminology, what might be perceived as upsetting or offensive, except that if somebody says to you, actually, that's not the way we say things, or that's quite an old-fashioned. And I've done it. I've used terms where people have gone, actually, Heidi, you might want to take a little look at that and see that comes from a position of white privilege. And I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me at all, because if somebody says that to me, I will apologise and say, I'm going to go and look into that, and I'm going to do better next time. That's it. That's all we can ask.
And that's what I want it to be. I want people to learn with us, not, learn a little bit from us, but learn with us, and invite people to sort of, come and join us as we chat to people or chat to each other and explore different topics. No, it's not going to be, it's never meant to be really hard hitting journalism or anything like that. I always want a fun element, but, I want... My remit has always been, I've always said to guests, anything you say or share or speak about has to be applicable to all couples getting married. So, can your advice be taken on by a same-sex couple or a couple that are getting married from a different culture or something, or if they have a disability, does this still apply to them? So that's always what I've sort of caveated when I ask people to sort of be part of it, and pretty much they have. So that's what I've been proud of, really. And I didn't want, I do a lot of LGBTQ weddings. I'm really passionate about it, but I didn't want it to be all about that, because I shoot all types of weddings. So I don't want to be pigeonholed as he's gay, he only does gay weddings. And I love doing gay weddings, and I'm doing more and more often, which is great. But why should I just do that? Why can't I, be a photographer for all? So it's
pigeonholes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to reach out more to disabled couples, because I have an understanding and a sensitivity and an insight in that field. But I don't want that to be exclusively my role, although I will champion it really hard. And I think as an industry we are getting better. I'm seeing much better representation, especially this year, I suppose, again, because a lot of blogs have had the time, and I think things are getting better. I'm still not seeing great representation of people with disabilities, and I know people with disabilities that have got married this year in lockdown, or just out of lockdown. So we've got a long way to go, but I'm also really heartened by the progress that we're making, because people are listening and people are saying, yes, we want to do better, and we will do better. So, come at us with the content, and let's start this conversation. And so I think we can afford ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back at the moment. I think, we know that we've got more to do, but nobody's ignoring the conversation.
This year people have had time to listen a little bit as well, because they haven't been, inundated with weddings. So, when a lot happened politically, and with the Black Lives Matter and stuff, did seem, sadly, it shouldn't have taken that, and it should have happened long ago, but there did seem to be a different shift in people actually stopping and taking stock. So I hope that going forward that, I'm not saying everyone has, and I'm not saying that everyone who hosted a black square has totally changed their approach, but a lot of people have. So it's a step in the right direction, I hope.
I think people are trying. One of the positive things to have come out of that awful situation was that I started to notice far more wedding businesses that were owned by black people, and I hadn't interacted with those people before.
No.
And so it gave me a real opportunity to say hello, and perhaps you might like to get involved in this style of wedding shoot, and actually start sort of making those connections familiarising myself with those business owners so that I could recommend them to my brides and my couples. And so for me, that was a positive that came out of that, because I wasn't interacting with those businesses before. I just wasn't aware of them. And I hadn't taken the time, to be honest with you, Ross. And when it's put right in front of your nose, then you have to sit up and go, right, okay, now I need to start taking notice, and I need to start interacting with you and getting much better at doing that. So for me, that was a positive that came out of that awful situation.
Yeah, definitely. What are your hopes for the podcast? What are you looking forward to? Why did you say yes for a start?
I said yes because I love the sound of my own voice, if I'm really honest, Ross. No, so I was involved in local radio for a number of years. And I absolutely loved it. I loved interviewing people. And when you're involved in local radio, you're very much talking to people that have set up small charities. You're talking to local authorities that are putting schemes together that will hopefully support and improve the communities they represent. And so a lot of the interviews that I was doing were with people that were doing good things. I stepped away from it because it's also incredibly stressful. And I thought that I was going into a far less stressful industry. Hey, weddings! What could be stressful about a wedding? But I love the wedding industry as much as I love local radio. But I do miss that side of things. I do miss that sort of finding out about things that you didn't know about before. And there's so much going on in the world that you don't know about. And interviewing people about those things is fun and interesting and broadens your mind and expands the horizons. And it's a great thing to do. So I really miss that element of my role in local radio. So I really loved doing the interview with you. I found it fun. I found it relaxing. I felt like it was informative. I don't know. I haven't listened back to it more than about 10 times, Ross. So, I'll play me again. So when you asked me, it was kind of like, that fills a huge gap in my life. And I, a bit like you, I'm sort of very aware that when we're reaching out to couples who are planning their weddings, it can get a little bit one-dimensional in as much as we can show them nice photos, we can write blogs. Who's got the time in their life to sit and read a whole blog? I know I haven't. So podcasts are a way of providing that inspiration, that stimulus, that education, that support in a very direct and engaging way. So I really love the spoken word, and I find that more engaging than anything really. So when you asked me, I was really, really excited, and all of the sort of possibilities and opportunities, thinking about people that we could possibly interview. I've already shared a few ideas with you, some exciting people I think we should interview. And I just think it could be fun. You and I know that we can talk for England, and Wales for Scotland, and many other countries. So we got on well. I think we've got a good rapport, and I think, I don't want to sort of stick my neck on the line too much, but I think we will make for an interesting listen. I think we'll interview some good people, and like you, I like the dynamic. When I listen to podcasts, the dynamic between two people talking, two people interviewing one person, perhaps people breaking away, one person interviewing one person and then coming back to their co-presenter to discuss that interview. There's a real dynamism around those sort of two people podcasts, and there's a lot going on there. So I'm hoping that we can have a bit of a laugh, because let's face it, at the moment we need one. I'm hoping that we can engage regular listeners to perhaps sort of drop in and share some of their funny wedding moments, because we have a plethora of those in our lives. Just a bit of interaction, and get the mood up again. We need to get the mood up.
Definitely. I think, we've discussed. So if we haven't said, we chat so much we forget what we say and haven't said. So this is the last episode of season 4. So you'll officially be joining me for season 5. So we'll have a little break after this one of a couple of weeks or a month or so. And then we're going to try and put them out as we record them. So whereas before I've banked them, so I've recorded a lot and then scheduled them for release every 2 weeks, we're going to try and record as we go to keep it topical, to be able to chat about things that are going on. At the moment, that's to do with COVID and restrictions and lockdowns and things like that, but could be anything, trends and styles that are changing and, all things like that. And obviously, once we do it as we go, we'd love to hear from you with ideas for content, but also your stories and what you thought of the interview that we've just done. And so we wanted to make it a lot more interactive, really. So we'll do a little bit of a rebrand. So we'll have a little bit of a different look, a visual look, and we will set up an Instagram account. In fact, I've got the name for your individual wedding on Instagram. I've not posted one thing, but I'm going to start properly.
I tagged you on Instagram.
Heidi found it and tagged it. I thought, there's nothing on it at the moment. We'll fill it with posts from our guests and suppliers and inspiration, and we'll put some quotes and some things on that. So it's an exciting relaunch in a way and a reboot, and it's got me excited for it again, as I said. And we're looking at sort of regular features, funny things that have happened, or a write-in feature, or whatever. You might become agony aunts and uncles. Heidi, how do you fancy? Do you want to be like a Dear Deirdre lady?
Oh my goodness.
wedding related. We're not,
some spec. You can't see. Oh, this is the downfall, isn't it? Because we're doing this over a Zoom, and I'm putting on my very impressive agony aunt specs, and nobody's getting the benefit of that. So that's a shame. I'd be up for a bit of agony auntie. I can't sort out my own problems. How am I supposed to sort out somebody else's, Ross?
I meant wedding. I didn't mean so and so's having an affair. What do I do? Or if you've got a dilemma, things like wedding numbers are so small at the moment. How do you pick and choose? Right, and who to miss out, or how do you get around that, or all sorts of things. If you want to, or tell us about your wedding, or it'd be nice to hear, uplifting stories of smaller weddings and reassuring people, that who are shouldn't say facing, that's the wrong word, but sort of looking ahead to a smaller wedding than they planned, but just reassuring them that you've been there, you've done it, and it was still fabulous, really, anything like that.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think at the moment we need a bit of uplift. I've had weddings go ahead this year, just out of lockdown, weddings of up to 30 guests, and then obviously it was reduced to 15 guests. And I have had couples who had postponed once or twice and just thought, you know what, at the end of the day, this is about you and me getting married. And, one of my brides got married in Glasgow. It was just her and her partner, and they got married, and I think they had a witness and a celebrant, and then afterwards the two of them wandered around the streets of Glasgow with their photographer, getting some really cool cityscape photography sorted. And she said to me that the pluses were that she got to spend more money on her accessories and her outfit and her flowers than she would have done. And she got more time with her partner on their wedding day, because they were running around trying to speak to every single guest. People that had travelled in from other countries and what have you. They literally just focused on the two of them, what that day meant to them, and they went home and they played board games. And this is what she told me, Ross. I don't believe it.
Yeah,
I never heard a word of it.
Travel, was it?
Yeah, right. They played board games, and they got the food that the company that were going to do their food for their reception did them sort of a grazing board, picnic hamper style thing that they took home. So they had lovely drink, lovely food. And so I was listening to her telling me about her wedding, thinking, this sounds amazing. Why wouldn't you just do that anyway? Why would you bother with all of these guests that half of them you don't even know? I don't know about you. Yeah, I got some real randoms at my wedding. I actually had people turn up to my wedding that I'd never met before.
Really? Why was that?
The friends had invited along. We had a live band play, and it was a band that my husband was in many years ago. And when they turned up, they decided that some of the band members should perhaps bring along their partners. And so there was this woman at my wedding, and I kept looking, thinking, I don't recognise you. And yeah, she was just the partner of one of the band members. But there were a few of those where people just thought, oh, it's a buffet, we'll be fine. There'll be enough food to go around.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But yeah, so intimate weddings are obviously going to be a thing for a little while. So it'd definitely be worth us discussing how to make an intimate wedding work and talking to people that have done it.
Definitely. Brilliant. We've decided in our infinite wisdom to come up with some quick fire questions for each other. Heidi, you look very excited. The more excited you are, the more worried I am. I don't know if my question. Well, we'll see. We've probably done a totally different type of questions. So the idea is that it's quick fire questions. Got to answer as quickly. It's just an instinct, isn't it? Do you want me to ask you first?
Okay. Are we going to ask these to our guests as well, Ross, as we go?
Well, that's what I thought. We could ask guests, couldn't we? A little quick fire round.
Are they going to be different every time? Have we got to think of different questions every time, or are we going to stick to the same ones?
Oh, I don't know.
To discuss.
Perhaps we should not have a planning meeting in the middle of a podcast episode. Perhaps we should discuss. We'll think about that before we record another one.
We should look much more professional, and yes, we've planned all of this out. We know exactly what we're doing.
Exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to be getting.
Well, ask the question, Ross. Let's go.
Are yours either or? Some of mine are either or, but not all of them.
Mine are alls. Mine are all alls.
Okay, some of mine are, some of mine aren't. So I hedged my bet. Are you ready? So I got 5 wedding ones and 5 general, because that's what you said you did. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go.
Okay, number 1, vintage or boho?
Vintage.
Dance floor diva or bar proper upper?
Dance floor diva every single time. First one.
You say that. I wrote that, so I know that already. Confetti or sparklers?
Sparklers.
Your dream celebrity bride or couple?
Oh, Lady Gaga.
Oh, I like that one. Crying or tiara?
She'd go all out, wouldn't she, Lady Gaga?
Oh yeah, she would.
You'd really be able to just.
You could afford not to do another wedding for another 2 years if you had Lady Gaga as well, because her budget would be massive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'd love. Oh, you've got me going now. I'm going to pen an email.
Is she with anyone? No, I don't think. I think she's single, so we've got a long way.
I don't know. I gave up gossip mags many years ago because they're tripe. So I've no idea who's with who. So I'll have to rely on somebody informing me on that front. Sorry, what was the next one?
Crying or tiara? You supply both. This is why I did it.
I think they're the same thing, just given different names. But
because a crown is circular. A tiara is not a full circle, is it?
No, it's slightly less. It's slightly less, but yeah, okay. So I'm going to say,
if you had to have one, what would you have?
If I had one, I'd have a tiara.
Because
yeah, crown in that. If you're describing a crown as something that goes all the way around your head, then that's quite a sort of a heavy.
The way you did it then, people can't see. It reminded me of a paper hat you get at Christmas. Just all the way around your forehead, right?
All the way around. So I describe my headpieces as crowns, but they don't go all the way around.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna stick with my designs. I'm gonna say crown.
Okay, cool. Okay, and then more general questions. Your favourite podcast?
At your individual wedding.
No, I knew you said that. No, I meant to put second favourite podcast. That was the question.
I really like. I like the film review, the 5 Live film review with Simon Mayo and the other guy whose name escapes me at the moment. And so I really enjoy it.
Mark Commode.
Muck Mode, that's it. And there's one called Gossip Mongers. Have you ever heard Gossip Mongers?
No.
Oh my God, listen to Gossip Mongers, you will cry with laughter. It's a panel of comedians, and they invite the guests to write in with bits of gossip that they have heard down the years. And it's a bit like those sort of modern myths.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was at school, there was a guy who, used to do this outrageous thing, and then they discuss these pieces of gossip, and then they decide which bit of gossip they love the best. But they are unfailingly
I'm gonna look that one up.
Gossip Mongers.
Gossip Mongers. Okay, cool. Biggest fear?
I was going to get really serious then. I'm not going to do that.
You can be serious.
No, because it involves my kids. But no.
No, let's not get dark.
Jumping out of an aeroplane. I would do it, and even watching other people doing it on TV programs makes me feel physically sick. So jumping out of an aeroplane.
Best memory.
Favorite memory. I've got so many best.
No, just one. It's just got to be one.
Well, I've got 2 children, so I'm going to say the birth of both my kids.
Okay, we'll let you have that. Your wedding obviously wasn't that great, so that was a waste of money. That was all the random people turning up. If they hadn't turned up, that might have been the best memory.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Ask permission first or beg for forgiveness afterwards.
Beg for forgiveness.
I knew you'd say. And I know. And last one, I know the answer to this as well. Texting or talking?
Oh yeah, talking.
Cool. Okay, so we know Heidi a bit better, right? You better ask me.
Okay, so mine start with more general ones. So summer or winter?
Winter.
Really, you're
I know, but I'm a bit of a Christmas freak, and I love summer for all the weddings and everything, but obviously they're quite hectic and quite busy, and I'm no good at like real hot weather. I'm just good for nothing. I'm a typical Brit. I'm the palest boy in Essex because I'm so
I love it. I honestly, sunshine, just the sun on my face.
I love the sunshine, but I'm obsessed with snows. If it's like I never get up early, but if it snows, I'm up at like 4 a.m. and I'm out there. Now I'm out there with my camera, but like even so, I'd be out there with like. In fact, my mum had somebody round. I can't remember who it was. I like a tradesman or something, and he was like, "Oh, and it had been snowing." And my mum said, "Oh yeah, my son will be so excited." And he goes, "Oh, how old is he?" And I was like, "Oh no, he's in his 30s. He'll just be really excited." But yeah, I love the snow. Probably because we don't get it very often. So yeah, winter, I would say, controversially.
Okay, I think you asked me a question very similar to this, but I'm going anyway because we didn't look at each other's questions beforehand. So, night out on the town or a box set on the sofa?
Probably, I would box set. Probably.
You and I are so different, aren't we?
I do like a night out. I don't know now you've said that.
No, it's fine. We're going with box set on the sofa.
But having said that, it's one of those things, when I do have a night out, as I love dancing, I am a dance floor diva. My nickname is Snake Hips, apparently. I went on a networking Christmas do, and people were filming me and nicknamed me Snake Hips. So, and as you know, I used to do street dance, so I do like my dancing. So I do like, and when I have a night out, I think, oh yeah, I miss this. But most of the time, I'm more box set, I think. Yeah.
Box set on the sofa. Okay, so box set on the sofa, winter, bath.
Oh, right, rave.
Yeah. Yeah, sit indoors all winter. Bath or bath?
What do I say? Bath.
You'll definitely be bath. You're a southerner. We say bath.
Yeah, bath.
Even though I've lived in the north of England for as long as I have, I still say bath.
Well,
and my kid.
I don't say bath. No, having a bath.
You're not having a bath?
Not having a bath.
I'll draw you a bath, Ross.
I do. Apparently, if I get annoyed, I go a bit West Country because obviously I'm from Gloucestershire, so I do have a twang. It comes out.
Oh yeah,
I tell my other half not to. I say, "Oh, don't be daft." He goes, "Oh no, I will be daft."
Yeah, see, and you said what? You didn't say other half. Then you said other half, and that sounds quite northern to me. A half, rather than
I'm just not very eloquent. Although actually, when I speak, I can adapt a little bit. If you know, I used to live in Cheltenham, so I can put on a Cheltenham voice. If people say, "Where are you from?" So I'm from Cheltenham. I'm not, but it's the closest poshest place to where I was from. And people know Cheltenham. My dad said to me, he goes, "You wouldn't say the actual town you were from, would you?" And I was like, "No, I always say Cheltenham because it sounds better."
Nobody's ever heard of the place where I grew up in Medway, in the Medway towns, which is where the word chav comes from originally. So that tells you everything you need to know about my childhood.
Yeah, that's nothing to be proud of, obviously.
Yes, I'm from the Medway towns. Nobody's heard of it. Would you choose glamping or a night in a hotel?
Hotel all the way. I love the outdoors. I love going for walks. I love photographing the outdoors and nature. I love it, but I don't want to sleep in it.
I love waking up in a tent. I love it. But then that's why.
But you said I've not done glamping. I've only done soggy, like really old school soggy tents, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's not fun. Glamping's lovely. I like it.
I've not done glamping. I might have to give it a go.
Cocktails or beers?
Cocktails.
Yeah.
I drank beer once at Eni, and I lost 24 hours and. It was during Freshers Week, and my mate had bought a load. He was from Guernsey, so he'd ferried some duty-free back. So I had it, and then I couldn't. I woke up like 4 o'clock the next afternoon. And
that's a big session to knock yourself out on beer.
That's really. And then I kept meeting people later on. The next week, and I was like, "Oh, hi, Ross." And they were like, "Yeah, we've met you. Yeah, we've met you." And so when I went, and I was like, I don't remember any of these people, and actually that freaks me out a bit. I don't like that feeling. So cocktails all the way. They taste nicer, and I've still got my memory at the end of the day.
I've got a friend called Donna who I still tease to this day, because I reckon probably the first 10 times I met Donna, she would introduce herself to me because she had no idea that we'd met before, because she was always so wasted. So I'd get this, hi, I'm Donna, and I go, "Yeah, Donna, yeah, we've met 3 times before." "Hi, I'm Donna. Yeah, we've met before, Donna." So yeah, to this day I still tease her about the fact that we met 10 times before she realised that she'd never met me. I think all Donnas are like that. Oh, that's awful, isn't it? You can't do that. Do a broad brush stroke on a Donna.
Homophobic, yeah.
That's my general questions. Let's go to weddings. Beach or city wedding?
Beach or city? Oh, I think city. I don't want sand in my lens, do I, really?
It's difficult, isn't it? I think I change with the day. It depends on the day.
Yeah, I would. I love London. I do love
London.
Sorry?
If the weather's a bit grotty, then I'm going to go city. And if it's a beautiful day of sunshine, it's going to be beach.
I think from a practical point of view, beach photos can be lovely, but they're also very open to the elements. So if you've got really harsh sun or bad weather, there's not a lot you can.
Oh, we're going tech.
I'm not a person who says. Whereas city, I just love finding those little, just a wall or a building or a little alleyway or anything like that, and suddenly you don't need a lot of space. You know, I did a wedding last year. I went down a side street and there was a red garage door and a green garage door, and I was like, "That's perfect." And it was just the most vibrant photos, just in front of, these bright garage doors. Then you can go another street in like somewhere like London or whatever city, and it can be a totally different look. So I think I like
I like an urban backdrop. I do.
So city.
I think you asked me this question almost. No, it's like yours was boho or vintage. Mine is boho or Hollywood glam.
Hollywood glam, I think.
Every time. Now, a bit controversial now. Are you ready for this one?
Oh, here we go.
Kids at weddings or adults only?
Oh my.
No, I can see you thinking, do I answer this
I
profession?
know. I think I would say I'm gonna sit on the fence. I would say closely related kids.
Okay.
Because
See,
I think kids at weddings can be lovely and they're good fun. But I also know of couples, I think I've said this before, who, not my couples, I hasten to add, where they've had hundreds of photos of the kids at the wedding and they're not their kids. So the photographer's going, oh, they're cute, I'll take another photo. And actually it's like some work colleagues' kids, you know. And they're like, these are meaningless kind of thing. So, so I like kids. I used to work with kids. I don't have kids myself. So I can see both sides. So I'd say closely related kids.
I love a kid at a wedding. I love a good knee slide. Black and white or colour photography?
My people always comment on the colours in my photos. So I was getting married, I'm drawn to black and white for me as a style. I always say my photography style is not what I choose for myself, which may sound really strange. It's like musicians, isn't it? Some people listen to the music that they wouldn't actually release themselves. So personally, for my own taste, black and white as a business colour.
Okay.
I do find that when I'm editing, I have noticed that obviously I provide both. The moments where people are interacting, I tend to put in black and white.
Oh, really? Okay.
If there's something poignant like a kiss or like grandma's hugging you or anything that seems a bit classic or wants to feel a bit more timeless, I tend to put in black and white. And I've noticed myself doing it almost subconsciously, oh, that's a black and white one, because I want to get away from all the distractions or the colours and make it about the moment. So that's what I do love. Yeah.
Okay. Black and white then. We're going black and white. Okay, and my last question to you, Ross, is, you've already described yourself as snake hips. Disco or live music?
Disco. Yeah.
Okay.
Disco. I love. Yeah. Because there are some really good live musicians, but I don't. There's certain songs I don't want butchered by other people. I like certain songs to remain certain songs.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to stack the singer on Strictly because some of those renditions are dreadful. For all the budget, you think they could get someone that could hold a tune. It's dodge. Yeah. That's what I feel.
I always find that really disappointing when it's your favourite song and you hear that intro and you go, and then some awful voice comes in and you think, oh my God, what is this? What's your favourite song?
My favourite song?
Favourite song?
Ever. Oh my goodness. The one that comes to mind is Don't Let Go by On Vogue. Do you know that one?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's a bit of a classic, isn't it?
And I like a song called Don't Mess With My Man, which is by someone who was also in On Vogue. Not that On Vogue were my favourite group, but it just so happens that two of my favourite songs are by the same singer. I grew up, my parents loved Motown, so that was what I heard growing up. And then I was sort of 90s R&B, so I went to see Destiny's Child when they just become 3, not 4, and and Beverly Knight. I used to go and see, and Mary J. Blige, and I've seen Jay-Z and Snoop Dogg and all that kind of era. Right. Yeah, one of my first gay dates was at the Snoop Dogg concert, which I think is quite an unstereotypical thing to do, really.
Yeah, definitely. Quite
fitting. An hour late, and it was a disaster, but it was right. It was worth it. So I'm a bit more eclectic now because I think I listen to a lot of different stuff when I'm running. So I like a lot of dance music, which I didn't before.
Yeah.
So my favourite singer is Jessie Ware. I don't know if you know Jessie Ware.
I know Jessie Ware, yeah.
So,
In fact, I think she was supposed to have been at Glastonbury this year. I had tickets to go to Glastonbury this year. I had tickets to go to Glastonbury, and yeah, I'm pretty sure Jessie Ware was on the lineup alongside loads of other bands that I was desperate to see. But hey ho.
She does my favourite podcast as well. So Table Manners by Jessie Ware is a good podcast.
I haven't listened to that one, so I'll put that down. Table Manners.
Table Manners, yeah, with her and her mum. So
I have heard about it, but I've not listened to it, so I ought to give that a listen.
It's really good.
What are we doing next time out, Ross? What's happening?
Next time we are. I don't know what we're doing. It's 50% your responsibility now.
Yeah. Oh, I see. This is how it works. I bring in somebody new, and then
now we get the real reason. Why do you want to do it?
I can't bother planning it anymore. So I think
next time it'll probably be just us again,
mm-hmm.
and we'll probably talk about the year that's just been. And
it's a good idea.
What we've got through and what we can look forward to in 2021.
Yeah. I think that's a really good idea, because hopefully, Ross, when we next speak, we will be the other side of the lockdown 2. I always want to go Electric Avenue, don't you?
Yeah, I've seen that picture, yeah.
Avenue. So I think we'll be out the other side of lockdown 2. I need to say Electric Avenue again, I'm not going to. And we'll be able to perhaps have a look at where we are at with weddings, what is and isn't allowed. Obviously, at the moment, nothing is allowed, which is breaking my heart. But I kind of feel like we're at the end of the year, so it's horrible for everybody. But we're at the end of the year. It'd be really good to sort of have a look at what's allowed, where we're at, and what we can expect for 2021.
Yes, and what to do if you're uncertain about your wedding and what your wedding's going to look like. We'll give some advice on that, I think, which would be quite.
And I would love to hear from people. So if people do have any of those questions, like you say, we've had to reduce numbers. How can we accommodate that? What are the pros? What are the cons? Talking about sort of rescheduled weddings. Obviously you and I have insight into the world of the wedding supplier as well as the couples. We know that behind the scenes, wedding suppliers are working very hard to accommodate rescheduled weddings as well as new weddings for the coming year. So it's sort of looking at a bit of that, I suppose. But it'd be really nice if people are listening and think, I'd really like it if Ross and Heidi could either answer this for me or find the answer for me. Then it'd be really good if people got in touch.
Definitely. So at the moment, the best way to get in touch is probably our social media channels. You can email info@rosswilshirephotography.co.uk, or I'm just Ross Wilshire Photography on Instagram, on Twitter, and Pinterest. So those are all my handles. And then Heidi is Glorious by Heidi. What's your best way to get in touch with you, Heidi?
And probably the same way, probably on my social media channels. So I would say on Instagram, Glorious by Heidi, on Facebook, Glorious by Heidi. And your individual wedding on Instagram, will that be taking direct messages, Ross?
It will. It's don't be put off. It's a bit blank and empty, but we will populate it with some content. As I say, we're working on rebranding, so it will look a little bit different when you see it. Don't expect maybe all the vibrant colours. It might be. We're trying to bridge a gap between my branding and your branding, aren't we? So we're trying to find sort of a common ground, and it's not the easiest thing to do. So we will keep working on that one. But yeah,
branding, they'll see what you mean when they look at your branding and they look at my branding. Yeah. They're going to see. So yeah, finding that common ground, that's good fun, Ross.
Or we'll probably have to go A1 and have a totally separate branding for it, and it could be standalone. We'll see how it transpires. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. I've enjoyed it. I feel it's just been. I found it easier already, to be honest, because I'm not. I feel like I'm not holding it together. Do you know what I mean? Not emotionally. I mean, I mean the show. I'm holding it together emotionally just about.
You could have told me that before we started.
No, but when you're, because when I'm listening, sometimes when I'm recording, I'm listening, but I'm also half a mind. What's the next question? How does it follow on? What there's always that internal dialogue. Whereas that's not there this time, obviously, because we're just chatting. So hopefully, it's been a pleasurable listen. So there will be a little bit of a gap. So it probably won't be 2 weeks. It might be 3 or 4 weeks till the next one. But it gives you time to get in touch, doesn't it? And
absolutely,
and get through lockdown. Hopefully, if you haven't heard all the others, there are 39 other episodes you can listen to during lockdown. So So thank you, Heidi, very much. I shouldn't say that really because it's not my show anymore. So you're not a guest. So you don't get that nice treatment anymore.
I'm going to turn the tables. Thank you, Ross, for joining me on this Your Individual Wedding podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. That's what people usually say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been wonderful. I'm really excited about the future of the podcast. I can't wait to get stuck in and speak to some exciting new guests and carry on the wedding conversation, Ross.
Yes, and let us know who you'd like to have on as a guest as well. That's the other thing. If you've got any guest ideas, let us know. And we'll see you very, very soon. Bye for now.
Bye.